Hello and welcome, Rangers, to the Pink Ranger podcast, a podcast that's going to be all about analyzing all the Pink Rangers of Power Rangers. We'll be later doing other podcasts like this on the other colored Rangers, but for now, this is just going to be about Kimberly until we run out of topics about Kimberly to discuss. I'm Joe, here with me is my co-host Stan.
Hello and greetings.
To start with, at first we struggled to find a topic of what to discuss about Kim, because there's a lot to talk about and it's hard to decide where to start. So we decided that we should start, as the title says, with her family.
At home.
Kim's parents divorced when she was young. Probably when she was around 4 or 5. We're guessing. It has left Kim with a fear of abandonment. But we're not going to discuss that fear of abandonment exactly immediately. In some ways, it's on par with Will Hunting, and it's a very tragic side of Kim's. That said, her mom divorced her dad and moved to Paris and remarried and lost all interest in Kim for the most part. Her dad passed her off to, I think, his mom and then lost interest in her. Both her parents are total jerks. The two people who out to have loved Kim the most in the whole world abandoned her. Kim in universe, in a way, is the most tragic of the original 5 Rangers. I say original 5 because Tommy in some ways had a much more tragic and traumatizing childhood, which is saying something considering Kim's childhood would be totally traumatic in some ways. Kim's parents are just probably the worst in all of Power Ranger history, although there is one good thing her dad did do for her. Because he didn't care about his own daughter, he at least passed her off to someone who did love her and want to raise her right. So in reality, it's not Kim's mom or dad who raised her, but rather Kim's grandmother who raised her. This grandmother had a lot of heirlooms and whatnot. And the thing about the Hart family name is that it's English. And when I say that, I do mean actual English. Because Hart, the way it's spelt, I know the way it sounds is like heart, like, someone's heart. Which Kim is really the heart of the original team, the original 6. She's the heart of the team. She's the core of it. But at the same time, the heart, it's another term for deer because H-A-R-T is deer. She is like an abandoned fowl from its parents. And so they've probably got a bit of Germanic in them in that you look at the spinning wheel of her one grandmother, it's obviously supposed to be a nod to, the story of the spinning of golden yarn. So that Kim just comes across as having a pretty old family heritage. Yes, her parents give her an allowance. Basically, they're paying child support to Granny, which is horrifying because at least if they fought in court, they'd care enough to fight in court, but they didn't. They're like, you take her. No, I don't want her. You take her. No, I don't really want her either. How about we dump her on mom? Okay, that works for me. Raise this child. Let's just give money. Okay, yeah, that'll solve the problem. How cold do you have to be to do that to your child?
It's no wonder she tried to steep herself in a lot of extracurriculars. And you have her gymnastics, which she is really good at. You have an aspect of martial arts.
She's also obsessed with history.
So you've got some clubs on that. You've got her going for class president.
It's just heart-wrenching when you see various episodes about her backstory, just how horrible her family life is. Her grandmother pours so much love into her so that you can kind of get Granny. Like, she's trying to compensate for this lack of love, but it's not enough in some ways. Kim, on the other hand, obviously adores and hero worships her grandmother and wants to be just like her. So at least Kim is trying to model herself after the most stable person in her family. Who could blame her? The trouble is oftentimes she brings these artifacts into school and tries to show off her family heritage and history to other people. Zed and Rita target her through her family.
Yeah.
Rita doing this, it's because Rita's catty. Zed doing it, it's just because I think at his core, he's pure cruelty and evil.
Initially, it's because the other 4 initial Rangers, they've come from loving homes.
Whereas Kim, her broken family is a bit of a weakness, and she tries to love her mom and dad and even her stepdad. It's just hard for her. And she is willing to basically sacrifice her life and soul for them. And she's the first Ranger to give up her powers, I think, for them. They would never do that kind of exchange for her, which is just, this shows the goodness and heroism that lies at the core of Kimberly.
Her parents only come by when they want something of it.
They feel like playing good parent.
It's like all the hard stuff's already been dealt with.
They want the fun. They want the pleasure of enjoying the reward of having a daughter without the labor.
And I wouldn't blame her if she decided, you know what?
I'm turning my back on them.
I'm turning my back on guys.
But that's the thing. Kimberly is always one of the first characters to forgive others in the series. And That's because at her core, she's beautiful. Like, the insides are more beautiful than the obviously beautiful exterior. The other thing with Kim is that she's very insecure and very envious of Trini early on. And you can't blame her, because Trini is everything Kimberly wishes she was. The difference is Trini is naturally perfect in some ways. She's kind and gentle. She's like a female teenage version of Mr. Miyagi. Kim wants to be like that, but Kim has more in common with Johnny Lawrence or something than she does Mr. Miyagi. And so Kim is trying to reconcile this more impulsive, this slightly darker side of herself to who she wants to be, her grandmother or Trini. And she can't. But here's the thing. Over the course of the series, Kim learns that she's perfect the way she is. She's Kimberly.
She needs to accept that she isn't anyone else.
She's Kimberly.
She's Kimberly, and that can be a hard journey to...
It might sound weird, but I like that the first main character of Power Rangers comes from this kind of broken family with so many flaws and baggage, because it allows for so many great stories to be written with her, and it allows for so much character development. I might argue she's the original Leo Corbett in a way, in that Leo Corbett comes from a bit of a broken family because, parents are dead and were dead for a long time. And he's basically Mokuba to Mike Corbett's Kaiba in a way. I'm not saying Mike Corbett's cold and just by nature. No, he's warm-hearted. It's just he was always the younger brother hero worshipping the older one. People go on about, let's say, Leo Corbett or Carter Grayson of Lightspeed Rescue, or I'll even say Andros from Space. Like these guys who come from these broken families. They're taking their cues as characters from Kimberly. Kimberly is the OG one who had that kind of background and has to put herself back together. In some ways, actually in almost every way, she has the most tragic background of all those characters. She comes from a more broken family, and her grandmother is the unsung hero of Mighty Morphin Power Rangers in a way, because Kim's grandmother imparted to her granddaughter the values of loyalty, yes, femininity, which is a very, very good virtue, at the same time, strength, kindness, love, forgiveness. She ingrained in her granddaughter self-discipline, and yes, she's the one who probably put her granddaughter into karate lessons and gymnastic lessons, but it's Granny who really imparted to Kim all these great morals and values.
And she was one that bonded the most with Zordon. Kind of the shadow Zordon, her coach from gymnastics, he took advantage of that part of her.
She has Zordon for her father, she has her grandmother, and she has Tommy. She doesn't need those kind of toxic people. Our next Power Ranger video will probably be a continuation of our more phenomenal reviews. So stay tuned for that, and wish you all the best. And don't forget to smash that like and that subscribe button as though you were Kimberly using the Dragon Dagger to take out Guitardo. And remember, Rangers, may the power protect you.